Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In this session, you will learn about what is AWS VPC, what is subnetting, what are the important components of subnetting, what is the AWS VPC subnetting, why do we need AWS VPC subnetting. At the end, I will simplify AWS subnetting for you. Okay, and watch till the end. Okay, now let's get started. But before that, if you didn't subscribe my channel yet, do subscribe the channel, click on the bell icon so that you can get notified whenever I upload this kind of useful video every time. Okay, and now that you have done it, let's get started. So very first thing, what is exactly AWS VPC? So Amazon Virtual Private Cloud or Amazon VPC is a service that let you launch AWS services in a logically isolated virtual private network that you define. You have the complete control over your virtual networking environment, including selection of your own IP address range, creation of your own subnets, configuring of your route tables and the network gateways. You can use both IPv4 and IPv6 for most resources in your virtual private cloud, helping to ensure secure and easy access to resources and application. Now, if you're not familiar with the term use, I have created one course on networking. Find the link below. After that, you can continue the session. Okay. If you're already good at networking, please continue the session. And you can see in region we can have multiple availability zone, and in for each multiple availability zone we have subnets. Okay, now while explaining more I will be covering that as well. Okay, so next, let's go to the next slide. Now let's understand what is exactly subnetting. Now to understand subnetting, first you have to understand what is exactly network and then what is subnet. Okay, so what is network? A network is a group of two or more connected computing devices. As simple as that. Okay, usually all the devices in a network are connected to a central hub, for example router. A network can include subnetworks or smaller subdivision of the network. Okay, now what is subnet? A subnet or subnetwork is a network inside a network, as you can see in the diagram. Okay, subnet make networks more efficient. Through subnetting, network traffic can travel a shorter distance without passing through unnecessary routers to reach its destination, so the time get more shorter, right? Now what exactly is subnetting? Subnetting or subnetworking is how very large network such as those provided by ISPs are able to manage thousands of IP addresses and connected devices. Now in more simple words, dividing larger network into smaller networks we call subnetting. That's as easy as that. Okay, so to understand subnetting you have to understand few concepts or components. Okay, here they are. First is IP address. So what is IP address? Every device that connects to internet is assigned an unique IP or internet protocol address, enabling data sent over the internet to reach its right device out of billion of devices connected to the internet. While computers read the IP address as a binary code, such as series of 1 and zeros, IP addresses are usually written in a series of alphanumeric characters, such as example 115.96.140.123 or 192.168.100.1. These are the examples. Okay, as you can see in my background, IPs are represented as a 4 octet values. Like you can see, first octet is 192, second octet is 168, third octet is 100, and fourth octet is 1. Now each you can see are represented as a binary also. As you can see in the image, the representation of an IP and its equivalent values as a bits. Okay, now let's understand the subnet mask. So a subnet mask is just like an IP address, but only for internal usage within a network. Routers use subnet masks to route the data packets to the right place. Subnet masks are not included within the data packet traversing the internet. Those packets only indicated the destination IP address. Okay, which a router will match with a subnet. Now in this analogy, let's say Ramesh is an IP address and cloud support is like a subnet mask. Okay, by matching Ramesh to his department, Suresh later was quickly sorted out into the right group of potential recipient. Without this step, office administrator would have to spend time laboriously looking for the exact location of Ramesh's desk, which could be anywhere in the building. So you can see it helped for sorting out, right? So in a real life example, IP packet is addressed as the IP address. For example, 192.0.2.15. This IP address is a class C network. So the network identified by 192.0.2, or to be technically precise 192.0.2.0/24, Network routers forward the packet to the host of the network indicated by 192.0.2, first 3 octet. Okay. Once the packet arrives the network, a router within the network consults with the routing table. It does some binary mathematics using its subnet mask, that is 255.255.255.0, since the device address is 15. The rest of IP address indicates the network, that is for first 3 octet represents the network itself, so 192.0.2, and the last one represents the host. Okay, and calculates which subnet the packet should go. It forwarded the packet to the router or switch responsible for delivering packet within the subnet, and the packet arrive at IP address 192.0.2.15. So that's how the routing happens. Okay. Now let's understand about the CIDR in short. I hope you maybe heard about this in past as well, but if you never heard about it, don't worry, I will explain in details. So classless interdomain routing is a method of allocating IP address and for IP routing. The Internet Engineering Task Force introduced CIDR in 1993 to replace the previous classful network addressing architecture on the internet. Its goal was to slow down the growth of routing tables on internet across the internet and to help slow the rapid exhaustion of IP4 addresses. The original classful network design of the internet included inefficiencies that drained the pool of unassigned IP4 addresses faster than necessary. The classful design include the following. So class A would have 16 million identifiers, class B would have been 65,553 identifiers, class C would have been with 254 host identifiers. Now suppose if an organization need only 260 host machines, it would have been switched to class B. However, in that case, you can see already that more than 60,000 host IP addresses would have been wasted, right? Thus, unnecessarily decreasing the availability of the IP4 addresses. CIDR was introduced to fix this particular problem. Okay. Now let's learn about the CIDR notation. So CIDR notation is a compact representation of an IP address and its associated network mask. CIDR notation specifies an IP address and a slash character and a decimal number. The decimal number is the count of leading 1 bits in the network mask. The number can also be thought of as a width in a bits of a network prefix. The IP address in a CIDR notation is always represented according to the standard of IPv4 or IPv6. The idea is that you can add a specification in the IP address itself to the number of significant bits that make up for the routing of the network portion. Now, for example, we could express the idea of IP address 192.168.0.15 is associated with the network mask 255.255.255.0 by using the CIDR notation of 192.168.0.15/24, and this means that first 24 bits of the IP address given are considered significant to the network routing. Now I'll explain more on that, so don't worry, in the next slide. Now let's learn about the CIDR block. Now the prefix, the first group of bits of the notation allow you to group the multiple block of network addresses into single routing network. CIDR block share the first group of bits. The block are also identified using the same decimal dot notation system as IPv4 address. Just for example, you can see there is a example of 10.0.1.0/24. Here the /24 signifies the total number of 1 bits in the routing mask or networking mask. So the IP address can also be shown in the below binary format. So the first octet are all 1, the second octet are all 1, and the third octet also all 1, and the rest of are 0. Here 24 bits are marked as 1. You can see, so 8 into 3, that means 24 are marked as 1. It would be equivalent to a network mask of 255.255.255.0. Note that the network addresses that can have decimal prefix and the same number of bits always belong to the same block. Also, the large and small blocks can be distinguished by the length of the prefix. So just for example, you can see in the table itself, I have created this table where suppose the subnet mask is /24, then you have 256 host available. Suppose you have /25, then you have 128 addresses available. Suppose you have slash 26, then you have 64 hosts available. Suppose you have slash 27, then you have 32. You can see the more number of subnet mask increasing, the number of hosts getting decreased. Okay, so that's how the flow works. Now let's understand about AWS VPC subnetting. So a virtual private cloud or VPC is a virtual network dedicated to your AWS account. It is logically isolated from other virtual networks in the AWS cloud. You can launch your AWS resource such as Amazon EC2 instances into your VPC. A VPC spans over all the availability zones in the region. After creating a VPC, you can add one or more subnets in each availability zone, and this is what called AWS VPC subnetting. When you create a VPC, you must specify a range of IPv4 addresses for the VPC in the form of classless inter-domain routing that we just discussed as per RFC 4632. For example, 10.0.0/16, this is the primary CIDR block for VPC. The Internet Assigned Number Authority has reserved the following three blocks of IP address space for private internets, where in the VPC also it's private internet, right? So that you can use these addresses in the VPC. Now, what are the addresses? 10.0.0, 172.16.0.0, 192.168.0.0. But there is the condition that you can use only /16 or smaller, okay, such as 10.0.0/16. Now let me show you, then it will be much more easy to understand. So if you log in into AWS, this is the screen, okay. Search for VPC. Now click on the VPCs. Now click on create VPC. You can see here it's asking for VPC name. So let's give it sample VPC. Okay. Now see, it's asking for IPv4 range. For example, as per documentation, you can see we can have 10.0.0.0 or 172.16.0.0, 192.168.0.0. So we can have these ranges. So for testing purpose, let's add 10.0.0.0. Okay, so let's add it 10.0.0.0, right? And you have to give a CIDR notation, right? So here it will be /16. Now what will happen if I give a /16? Now for that there are multiple tools. One of this is CIDR calculator. Okay, now if I go down, and you can see here IPv4 calculator, and here, so we are giving, let's say we are giving subnet mask of 16, right? And our range is this 10.0.0.0. So if I paste it here and say calculate, you can see this particular CIDR block range has 65,536 host range, right? Total number of hosts can be this much. Now let's go here, and if you click on create VPC, it will create the VPC for you. Now what if we try to add some address which is not as per the list? Let's do that also. So go to your VPC and click on create VPC, and let's say another sample VPC. Okay, now just for example 125.120.3.7/16. Now if you try to click on the create VPC, you can see it's saying it must be a valid CIDR block. So let's go to our documentation and validate only these three, as you can see here. Now if you don't have that much big requirement, if you have smaller requirement, then simply just increase the number of CIDR notation. It will create the lesser number of host range. Okay, now just for example, let's come to the range calculation. Let's say instead of 16 you just need maybe less than 16. Let's say for example you want maybe 256 range. Okay, in that case let's calculate. You can see here you can have broadcast, you can have number of total hosts 256. Now if you want more bigger than that, let's try the 23. You can see you can have a range of 512 hosts, and you can see how you can divide the network as well. Now suppose you want even more than that, you can see 22, and you can see it will give you around 1024 number of hosts. Again, just go down and you can just experiment here how many host you can have if you give the particular range. For example, with 21, it will give you around 2048 host range, and similarly with 20, it will give us around 4096 range. So this is how we calculate the range of this particular VPC. Okay. Now key points here to remember: the allowed range of CIDR block size of the VPC is between 16 network mask, that is 65,536 IP addresses, to slash 28 network masks, which is minimum 16 IP addresses. Okay, you cannot give less than 16 or more than 28 as a subnet mask. Okay, make sure you remember that. The CIDR block of the subnet can be same as the block of the VPC for single subnet in VPC. The CIDR block of subnet can also be same on the other subnet in the case of multiple subnets. In the subnet CIDR block, the first 4 IP addresses and the last IP addresses in each subnet block are not available to use and cannot be assigned in an instance. For example, subnet block of 10.0.0/24, the following 5 IP addresses will be reserved. Or for any subnet, you can see these 5 addresses will be reserved. So the very first 4 addresses and the last subnet. Okay. So what are the first 4 addresses? That is 10.0.00 or the last 0. That is reserved for the network address. Then the number 1, that is reserved for the AWS for the VPC router. Then after that, that is 10.0.2 reserved for AWS. Then 10.0.03 reserved by AWS for future use. And at the end, that is the last one, is for broadcast address. But remember, AWS doesn't support broadcast. That's why it's reserved the IP address. Okay. Now let's understand why exactly do we need VPC subnets. So when you create a subnet, you specify the CIDR block for the subnet, which is a subnet of the VPCI CIDR block. That is, main VPC's CIDR block is divided into the subnets. Each subnet must reside entirely within one availability zone and cannot span zones. Okay, an availability zone are in a distinct location that are engineered to be isolated from failures in other availability zone. By launching instances in separate availability zone, you can protect your application from the failure of a single location. AWS assign unique IDs for each subnet. So you can understand now, for fault tolerant, for better availability, the subnet is necessary. That's why you have these subnets. Okay. Now here two note I want to give, that if a subnet traffic is routed to an internet gateway, so the subnet is known as a public subnet. If the subnet doesn't have a route to the internet gateway, the subnet is known as the private subnet. Okay, to remember that point. Now let me simplify the AWS VPC subnetting so you can play with subnetting as much as you like. Okay. Now for example, if you create a VPC with CIDR block of 10.0.0/24, it supports 256 IP addresses. As you can see in the above table, that if you have /24 subnet mask, it will support 256 IP addresses, right? You can break this CIDR block into 2 subnets. Okay, each subnet supporting 128 IP addresses. So one subnet uses CIDR block of 10.0.0/25, that is for addresses 10.0.0.0 to 10.0.0.127, right? And the other uses CIDR block 10.0.0.128/25 for addresses, that is 10.0.0.128 to 10.0.0.255, right? Note, always remember 5 IP addresses are not usable, as you can see in this table, where I'm already showing for each subnet 5 IP address getting reserved. Okay, now we have done enough talk. Let's create the VPC with /24 range and then try to divide in /25. Let's see how it happens. So come to the VPC page, then click on create VPC, and let's say divider example. Okay, and let's give it a range 10.0.0.0/24, and let's create the VPC. Now go to the subnets and click on create subnet. Now here select the subnet. So here it is divider VPC example, and let's give it a name divider VPC subnet 1. Okay, it's the subnet 1. Again, in the documentation we have covered each subnet assigned to one particular availability zone, and you can select any availability zone here. Okay, now you can see it's giving IPv4 CIDR block input field. There mention 10.0.0.0/25. Okay, now go down, click on create subnet, and you can see now the subnet is created, as you can see here, and available is only 123, right? Because 5 are already reserved, and you can see it already reserved the 5 addresses, right? Now let me tell you, there is a limit for creating subnets. So let me show you. So there is a limit per VPC. You can parse VPC, you can create 200 subnets, and per region you can create 5 VPC. Now this is soft limit. If you request, it will be increased for you. Now let's get back to our demo. Suppose we want to create, each subnet will have around 4000 IP address range. So let's, for that, if we go for 20, you can see it will give you around 4000 IP address range, right? And it will allow us to create 16 possible /20 networks. So fine. Now how I can create these subnets, right? So to do that, first let's go to the VPC, and we want to use the sample VPC, right? So again, go to subnet, then click on create subnet, and then select the sample VPC, and you can see the subnet name, give it sample VPC subnet 1. Okay, and for in the value, this is our first starting range, right? So 10.0.0.0, copy that and paste it here, and the CIDR notation will be 20. Okay, now let's create it. And similar way, we can create such 16 subnets for this VPC CIDR block range, right? So let's create a subnet, and let's click on the sample VPC. Let's call it sample VPC subnet 2. Then come here, and the next range you will start from the 10.0, 16.0. You can see, because the first range for this 4096 IP range, from that is from 10.0.0.1, that is to 10.0.15.254, and the last broadcast ID is 10.0.15.255. So we'll start from the next available IP range. Okay, that is 10.0.16.0. That is, for this to this, there's a difference of 4096 IPs, right? So let's start with this IP and just paste it. Now you can give any preference, or you can keep it blank /20, and it allowed us to simply create the subnet 2. You can see the available IPv4 addresses 4091, because 5 are reserved, right? So this is how easily you can create the subnet. I hope you can understand and you do like the session. So if you do like the session, please do like this video, share with others, and please do subscribe the channel, click on the bell icon so that you get the notification whenever I upload this kind of useful videos. Okay, thank you very much, have a nice day, bye.